Revelation chapter 6. There will be horsemen. 4 of them. The first is plague. The second is war. Next comes famine. And the last is death. That fourfold pattern is one of the features of the Bible. Jeremiah said that the people of Jerusalem would be divided between pestilence, the sword, famine, and captivity. Ezekiel talked about the 4 sore acts of judgment, which would be pestilence, the sword, famine, and wild beasts. This time, let's focus on the third horseman. Chapter 6, verse 5. The third beast called out, and John saw a black horse. This horseman held a pair of scales in his hand, and he was instructed to set high prices for the food that people eat. That is, he was instructed by God to make food scarce in the world. All these things are God's work, part of the vindication of his people. The first horseman is plague. I've already talked about that one separately. The second horseman is war. I've already talked about that one separately. It's easy to see how famine might follow on from plague, because of the effects of plague on the people growing the food and distributing the food. It's easy to see how famine might follow on from war, because of the effects of war on the cycles of trade. And it's easy to see how famine itself would be taking peace from the world, because it would force people to compete for food at the local level and at the international level. And we've seen some of these things in the past few years. Think back to the COVID lockdown, and remember the empty shelves in the supermarkets, and the fits of desperation that might have led into violence. I do not say that the present events are necessarily the 4 horsemen events of Revelation chapter 6. I do say that we need to be conscious of the possibility, and we do need to think about what events might be following.